went to New York to see the ball drop at midnight, but I guess they didn't have it that night.
Oh, 5, 4, 3.
Hello, folks, and welcome to Trek Tonight. We are very excited because tonight we start our series on Star Trek Picard Season 3. And we all had a chance to watch the episode, some of us multiple times. So we have a lot to say about it. Again, spoilers. If you haven't seen it yet, you might want to shut us off and watch us later. But if you have seen it, we'd love to hear from you. Just like Angela.
Thank you,
Angela!
Daniel.
Hey,
Yeah.
Angela.
Howdy. How are you? Good to see you here. Anyway, anything before we dive into this, guys? You got anything?
I don't want to spend a lot of time. There's nothing else. I mean, other than actually today is now I'm having a. Last week I took an edible before the show, which I think explains my sort of Swiss cheese memory. But I have no such excuse this week. It's LeVar Burton's birthday. So,
isn't that nice?
Now
Isn't
Commodore
that nice?
Geordie LaForge. So happy birthday to
Happy birthday, LeVar.
LeVar.
Craig Lubin is with us, says gents.
Thank you, Craig.
And our old friend Eric Hutz dropped by to say, good to see the new episode and you all again.
Thank you, Eric.
You too, Eric. Angela says, I watched this morning. I'm pals with Captain Shaw.
Yes. Both Angela and I know Todd Stashwick, who plays Captain Shaw.
Right.
Angela is, I think, closer to him than I am. But, you know, I know that if I saw him on the street, he would say hello.
Well, there you go.
So
he wouldn't look at you and make a snide remark.
No, not really. No, he's not. He is not nearly. He's not snide like Captain Shaw. It is acting.
Yes, I know it's acting. Yes. What a character. I mean, we'll get into all of that.
Yes.
Wait, that's not real. We don't.
It's not a documentary, Keith.
Right.
I'm sorry.
Right.
I got all sorts of notes to change. Then hold on.
Anyway, how are you, Keith? Good to have you here.
Great. I'm fantastic.
Good.
I'm living the dream. I got to watch Star Trek Picard. Yeah, cool.
Yeah,
I don't know what more to
Very
say.
exciting.
I don't have anything to plug. But yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I know Leo and I both watched it early in the AM as it dropped, and then saw it again.
Same here.
Later on in the day. So, and I didn't take a nap today.
So,
I'm just so excited I can't.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, let's start just with first general impressions. And let's throw it over to you, Keith.
Well, for just talking general impressions, I think it was a really outstanding episode. I think it's definitely the best season opener we've had in Picard. I think I really liked that. I liked, there are a number of elements I liked too. Just how the show started and then how the show progressed.
Right.
I think the only season opener of the recent Treks I like better would be the season opener for Strange New Worlds.
Right.
But as far as the season opener goes, this was great.
Yeah. How about you, Leo? General thoughts?
I also was very excited about it. I like the fact they started in the 25th century.
Yes.
Much like the beginning of Star Trek Wrath of Khan was in the 23rd century. There were a lot of little Easter eggs, I'm sure, not all of which I caught. But it's interesting because as Patrick Stewart said multiple times in interviews, the way they got him back is he says, you are not the same person you were when you were making the show, just as Jean-Luc Picard is a different person now than he was during the run of the show, which is what intrigued him. So there is this urge, because the fans kind of want it to be the way it used to be. They want to, everything to be. It's the nostalgia, and some people they're like, well, they changed it. Picard would never do that. But I didn't dislike the first season. I thought it was a different sort of show because there was, aside from the appearance of Riker, Troy, and Data eventually. It didn't feel like a reunion. Like it didn't feel like it was. It felt like he felt very alone and sort of disconnected, which may have been part of the intent. But we're starting out. We open up with Beverly Crusher on the show, the ship, the Helios, which is this small. Apparently, according to Mateus, the showrunner, executive producer, it was a Starfleet ship, and it's decommissioned. It's her private ship, and it has that classic saucer, the two narsals,
right?
And it's exciting. The ship's being boarded by a couple of like Jim Henson-esque aliens, or at least their masks are like put me in mind of Dark Crystal a little bit. And she's a real badass, and I have to say, she was, I think, the most attractive member of the crew. Like I always thought she was very attractive back in the day,
and I think she looks great now.
She does. I'm kind of digging the silver hair.
Me too.
That she was rocking.
Craig Lubin says, "Buy my titanium clavicle." What a good episode.
Yes.
For those of you who don't remember, Craig had a skiing accident and had to have his surgery on his clavicle. So
yes, he broke his clavicle. He had an icy patch, and he has now a titanium strut in his reinforcing his clavicle.
Right,
and he has finally become a cyborg. His lifelong dream. So
there you go. Very good.
Congratulations, Craig.
Congratulations.
I thought it was really great. I mean, I will say that when we started season 2, I was very excited about that as well, especially into maybe 2 or 3 episodes. And then for me, it got kind of muddy and weird and did all kinds of odd things. But this looks fantastic.
I agree. It feels, one of the things that my objection to season 2 was we spent most of our time in 21st century LA.
Right.
Now, that's got to be cheaper maybe than building sets and having ships, whether digitally or physically made, all those sets, all the costumes. It's probably considerably cheaper to do it, on location than it is, to build these sets. But I always feel cheated when they do that, because I kind of I want to see more of the future. I always want to see the Federation. So my feeling is that that's what's going to happen here. I don't get the impression there's going to be any time travel shenanigans. Keith, I'm sure you'll be happy to hear that.
I am. No time travel. Time travel bad.
Right.
Let's. Keith is not a fan of time travel. He had some bad experiences with it as a child. The less said, the better.
Right. Exactly.
But it's interesting because they turn a lot of sort of Star Trek tropes on their head a little bit. Which, to jump ahead, I don't know if we want to hit this beat by beat or if we want to.
Well, I mean, I have notes in order.
Yeah.
But I mean, the first thing I was just going to mention, just off the, keeping with that same, Delta theme, they've included the Neo Constitution Triton opening swoosh where it flies around, which is great.
I love that. That was great.
I loved starting off with "I Don't Want to Set the World on Fire," which I thought was just musically was really kind of cool. I'm not really sure how that fit, but I loved it. I'm
suspecting the world's going to be in danger of catching fire.
Yeah. So you were going to say something because I'm curious. At first, I wasn't really sure until I got third swipe into the episode, and then I listened to it as to why Beverly was just sitting there when she got attacked, and I guess it's because she was trying to hide.
She was trying to hide from these, space Skeksis. I'm not sure who they are.
Right.
Who are chasing her down. But it's there were like a lot of neat little things. You got to see her like her comedy tragedy mask. And remember, she was like directing plays on the Enterprise.
Right.
And there was an award she got for helping cure a plague.
Right.
There was Jack Crusher's go bag. You're gonna have to put me on hold. I'm being called to the bridge briefly. So.
Oh, all right. Hang on. Let me ask you, Keith, because, what was that Picard log that you see on her screen? Something we're supposed to recognize?
I think so. I have not. I have not researched it to find out.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it is something that we're supposed to. However, I did do some other research on a couple other things, and there were I don't know about a lot, but there were a few points that I was curious about. Were we supposed to remember that? There's a couple little words dropped that I'm wondering, did those actually appear in the show, or are they, retconning stuff? And there's a couple.
That's what I don't know, Leo. While you stepped out, I was just asking Keith that log of Picard's. Are we supposed to recognize that from?
That's from the. I don't. It's apparently during the first that the Best of Both Worlds, I believe, is where it's from.
Okay.
Because he's like, I don't know why the Borg is so interested in the Enterprise or in me.
Right.
So why she's listening to that? That's a good question. I don't know if the Borg are going to play into this episode or this series, because it ended at the end where the Borg were kind of like, hey, we want refuge, and they were
right.
Led by ex Dr. Girardi, now Borg Queen. So it's I'm not sure. I mean, there's a lot of stuff we haven't. It feels like there are a whole bunch of bad guys in this show, because we know that we're going to get Moriarty, we know we're going to get Lore.
Right.
There is Amanda Plummer's character, the name of which I've seen, but it eludes me now because we have yet to meet her.
Right.
So there are at least 3 potential baddies, like real threats to the Federation.
Right.
So I'm not sure what's going to happen. I'm very curious as to where this is all going to lead.
Did you guys pick up on the fact that Beverly's wearing one of those kind of cool, almost Wrath of Khan jackets?
It did. It had the Wrath of Khan that
white collar to it. Yeah.
That Wade Team Parker. Wade Team Parker is a guy who gives tours in the Yukon. But
Craig says crystal and entity model log from Best of Both Worlds. A whole lot of callbacks in that opening panel.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I liked it, and I like the fact that she's like, I wouldn't say she was not a badass. I always feel like she was underserved on both of the originals in TNG and then the last couple of movies. I mean, she, not that she had nothing to do, but she had no character arcs that I can recall.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, isn't that part of the reason she left for a year?
Well,
because she was underserved or something. I don't know.
There was also some allegations of some backstage shenanigans. Let's put it that way. In a the most in a which would be considered a Me Too incident today, but back then I think one of the showrunners was kind of being inappropriate. Let's say.
Apparently, in the 25th century, Craig Lubin says, interiors of all starships must be lit as darkly as possible.
Yes. Well,
I was kind of curious why the lights on her ship were all down so low. But...
Well, maybe she was powered down.
Yeah, that was
like they're trying not to have a big energy signature, because they had to spin up the warp drive to get out of there. Right. It wasn't like let's go warp 5, engage.
Yeah.
So,
so let's move on to what is ostensibly Act 1 and talk a little bit about the scene between Picard and Laris, which I thought was really nicely done.
It was.
We were talking in the green room before the show a little bit about the idea that I'm sure there are loads of Easter eggs on that set. I just saw the couple of the obvious ones, the flute, the thing that he used to have over the back of his chair.
The gold model of the Enterprise D.
Yeah.
Right. And of course, the big painting. But was there anything else you guys picked up on?
Yes, this was there was a sort of a figure or statuette on his desk, which was a third dynasty, and I looked this up on Memory Alpha, Kurlan Naskos, which is basically an alien Russian nesting doll. Because if you remember the episode, the Chase.
Okay.
Where both the Klingons and Romulans and the Federation were all trying to find is like the origin of sort of why there's so many species that are kind of alike, bipedal,
right.
And that was given to him by his old archaeology mentor. So it's like if you take the top off, there's like a smaller one, and according to Memory Alpha, let me read what they wrote. I'm not sure if this will come back. Large hollow body, which the top half could be removed, several smaller figurines inside, similar in shape to the original one, reflected the Kurlian philosophy, the sense they believed that an individual was actually a community of individuals, each with their own voice, their own desires, their own view of the world. Ornamentation on the surface of the Nassicos indicated which dynasty the Kurlan civilization it came from. So it was the idea that many are contained in one. Right. So I don't know if that is a theme that's going to repeat, or whether it was just the Easter egg.
Yeah, maybe.
So
I thought the relationship, I thought the love between the two characters.
Oh yeah,
so present in that scene. I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah, I loved it. I loved when he's like, "I will give this to Geordie."
Yeah,
he's like, "Pack this up."
Don't you dare!
It's like, "Don't you dare!"
Yeah,
I love that actress.
Me too.
She's gorgeous, and that Irish accent, or Romulan accent, depending on what your POV is utterly charming. She's terrific because she calls him out in his shit, but in the most sort of loving way possible. She's not like, you're like, don't lie to me, Jean-Luc Picard. She's just like, he's, well, I don't need a legacy. And she's sort of like, yeah, all right.
Yeah. Well, and that leads me to this. I want to understand why Jean-Luc Picard can have all of his memorabilia around his home.
Sure.
And it's all there, and it looks decorative and a little eccentric and very charming. And when I do it, it just looks like I have crap all over my house like a hoarder.
Well, you need a set dresser to
maybe
help you,
maybe that's what it is, because I have it all around and it just looks like a pile of crap. But at any rate,
welcome to the club.
Yeah. Hey, so Leo made this joke earlier, and I just think it's marvelous. Let's jump ahead to the bar scene where he gets together with Riker, and I just thought it was so funny. As Leo said earlier, clearly Eagle Moss made it into the 25th century.
Yes.
All those little tiny starships.
Yeah.
Look exactly. They were all
Eagle Moss.
Moss.
It's the same base. Right. It's very much, they were,
very much the same.
This base gives it away.
Yeah, exactly.
And then Riker asked the bartender, like, why do you have so many Enterprise Ds? She's like, oh, the fat one? Nobody wants that. And
the fat one. And I love it.
I must confess, the Enterprise D is not my favorite of the Enterprises.
No. I thought that was a great inside joke in a way, because I don't know that I think the Enterprise D has gotten some shade from a lot of people because it's kind of weird looking.
It is. It always looks as it's about to tip over because the front half is so much bigger than the back half.
Yeah.
I mean, because it's wide and it's deep. I don't dislike it, but it's not my favorite.
Right. Exactly.
Although I have a friend of mine who I think it was the first Star Trek he saw. Maybe it was in reruns because he's just about 30 now, maybe.
Right.
And he loved that's his Enterprise. So
Oh,
I think
sure. Yeah. I mean, definitely. People who were that was where they entered. Well,
Yeah.
we said this before, wherever you've entered, that's your home base.
Yeah.
If you came in on the original series, great. If you came in on TNG or Deep Space Nine, what have you, we have a guy we know who came in on Discovery.
Yeah.
And that's his thing,
That's his thing. And it's all good. It's like
hey. Let's see. I got to get my mouse to work. Here we go. John pipes in and says Picard was great. Wow.
Yeah,
it really was. I agree, John. It was very good, I thought. I love the way Riker is being portrayed, because he's gotten to the age where shit just comes out of his mouth.
Yeah.
Like he's not worried about what people think necessarily. And two instances of that. One, I love when he's talking to Jean-Luc and he's saying, well, who really wants to listen to a bunch of old farts talk about, we start
going boldly,
and I thought that was great.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure your speech will be great.
Yeah, I'm sure yours will be great. Yeah.
I really did enjoy the relationship between Picard and Riker. You can tell they've known each other for a very long time, and that, yes, Eric, what Eric said.
Yeah, exactly what Eric said. Yep, exactly. Yeah, love the banner between Picard and Riker, and it's true, Eric. It was great.
They are obviously close friends.
Right.
Yeah, I thought it was great.
Yeah. And then, of course, Craig, I wasn't necessarily going to jump ahead, but it ties into what I was talking about. Crash LaForge.
Yes.
And he just won't let that go. He's on the bridge, and
he's just like he's like your drunk uncle. I mean, he's not drunk, but did you have a nickname? I really can't recall, sir.
Yeah. I thought that was great, but it is true. He just sort of speaks his mind now, and I love it.
Yeah,
I love how they've aged the characters, because I feel like it's age appropriate. And when they're getting ready to board Beverly's ship, I know I'm kind of speeding ahead, but when they get and Picard says something about
you're enjoying this.
His hands are stiff, and
and
Riker says, "Well, your hands are stiff, and my knees are killing me."
As long as we don't have to move or shoot anybody, we'll be fine.
We'll be fine. Yeah, but we should jump back because we're missing a few.
Yeah.
What do we want to say about Captain Shaw?
Oh boy.
Okay. Well, again, he is a friend of mine, so I don't want to go. It's because I had a lot of thoughts about Shaw, because my initial thought is he's rude. He throws a lot of shade in our boys.
Right.
But here's an interesting flip. If you recall any episode of Star Trek where a senior officer shows up on the Enterprise,
right,
an admiral or a commodore or what have you, that admiral or commodore always turned out to be kind of like a problem rather than a boon.
Right.
So and given their history, the multiple violations of the Prime Directive, the fact that they crashed the Enterprise D onto a planet, that they've they've had a colorful past.
Oh, sure.
But so
I mean, they're no Kirk.
So here's my take on that. One, Shaw was well within his rights to say no.
Right.
Yes.
Well within his rights to say no. I mean, Picard's not even a real admiral anymore. He's a retired admiral.
Yeah.
So what's he doing inspecting shit? I mean, admirals get to do that. Retired admirals, I'm not so sure. Maybe I'm wrong. I've never been in the Navy. I'm sure that if a retired admiral showed up on a boat, they'd be given respect and all, and there might even be some sort of pro forma inspection or something like that, but it would really have no weight, I think. I don't know, but I think.
He's not wrong, but he's also incredibly rude to them.
There we go. He did not. I mean, you can say no without being rude about it, even if you don't like these guys, even if you think these guys are a bunch of irresponsible Kirks.
Yeah.
I mean.
Well, yeah. I mean, he does. I mean, he ends up hitting a low blow when he talks about, he's talking to Annika and he says something about, your loyalty is to this ship, not old friends or old Borg.
Yeah.
And he's looking right at Picard on that note.
Yeah.
Which begs the question, was his character maybe as a junior officer at Wolf 359?
Maybe.
Maybe.
And,
I have Shaw written down sort of as kind of a douchebag, but when I sit and think about it, the more I think about it, we had the big debate over what's his name?
Jellicoe.
Oh,
Shaw is worse than Jellicoe.
Oh, you think?
I'm going to say, because I'm hoping that they're not just the idea of turning on the tropes. So they turn on rather than being deferential to,
right,
either like a retired admiral, because like he was, at the end, the beginning of last season, wasn't he like the commandant of Starfleet Academy or something like that?
Mm-hmm.
He had a position.
He did.
He wasn't commanding a ship, but he had,
right.
Although now it seems like he was retiring because he was going to go off to this planet. His girlfriend's going to be set up security, and he's going to sit on the beach and drink Saran brandy and contemplate writing his biography.
Right.
So I think that I'm hoping that the trope of the outside captain who is the asshole that nobody likes is going to be turned on its head, much like he turned on his head the idea of the, because Picard and Riker are the heroes of this story.
Right. And let's hope so. Although I just want to say that Eric says he enjoyed how Seven saw through their bullshit story, which, I enjoyed that too. But when you look at the teaser trailer that they put out a couple weeks ago, you don't see a hell of a lot of Shaw after what we've seen of him. So far.
I don't.
I just see them on the bridge. You see Picard and Riker on the bridge. So I'm hoping that it's not that like something nasty happens to him and then that gets him out of the way, because that would kind of be cheap.
I think it will be cheap. I think we're going to find some hidden depths in him. I don't think he's a bad captain, but he's also, like, again, he is very outspoken, and he has every right to say no. Like you said, they were like, "Oh, are we late?" He was like, "No, your reputations preceded you, so I thought I'd start early," which is like a real, fuck you.
What an obnoxious way to introduce to start the conversation.
But he also got everybody. He put everybody on their back heel, because he's controlling the conversation.
Right
after that. So
now, does anybody? Yes, we know Jean-Luc is retired.
Yes.
Riker is not. He's still an active captain, but why does he not have a command?
It's a good question. I don't know, because the last time we saw him was with, the end of season 1, and he was commanding one of those new ships, the name of which eludes me. And I don't know what he's been. But let's backpedal a little bit to that bar scene, because Picard said, "Well, I'm sorry to have taken you away from family time." He says, "Well, Deanna and what's his daughter's name?"
I forget, because I just wrote down.
I wrote it down.
Drama in the Rikers. That's what I just wrote down.
Yeah, there is
clearly there's something going on there.
There's something going on. I think he feels like a guy who's having a bit of a midlife crisis.
Right,
Riker, because he's very much, the whole thing is like, it's he figured he'd try to bullshit his way into getting them where they need to go. And I'm going to pitch it. This is a theory which I hope is not true, that he is. I wonder if he's compromised. I wonder if Riker's compromised.
What do you mean? In what way?
Well, remember, Beverly says no Starfleet. And so is it possible that Riker has been compromised in some way? I don't know. I hope it's not, because I love the character.
Right.
I would be very bummed if one of
I see what you're saying. You're wondering if he's not.
Right, because he would then have to get away from his Beta Z wife.
Yeah.
Who even if she's not a mind eater, she's an empath, so she'd be able to tell something was wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although I have a feeling we're going to see her in the show because she's.
We will. We're going
Yeah.
to see everybody, I believe.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
But that is just me being paranoid,
Right.
or
I
like,
gotcha.
because sometimes they, you know, I don't know. We'll see what happens. I
Right.
mean, he didn't get another ship. They did this sort of like half-assed, ruse to try to get where they wanted. They did, perhaps at the cost of Commander Annika. And that's another thing, how the captain wouldn't let her call herself Commander 7 of 9.
Right.
So he clearly has got a real hard on against the Borg.
Yes, clearly.
So maybe he's lost somebody to the Borg. So
I still, I don't know. I mean, there is no as far as we know anyway, there is no impending war about to happen like there was when Jellicoe took over the Enterprise.
Right.
I think Jellicoe gets a lot of unfair hate from fandom.
Oh, he does. Yeah, I mean,
but all the hate directed at Shaw, I think, is justly done. Even if he did not have to be as mean as he did now. But you're right. Maybe he does have some backstory going on with the Borg. I think that's entirely likely.
I'm going to plant my flag and say that we will see more of a redemption for Jellicoe, or we'll understand his position rather than. And I don't think he's just going to be a prick the whole time.
Right.
Well, yeah, I would hope not. But but it is interesting. Pardon me, guys. All of a sudden, don't you usually sort of hand select your first officer?
Yeah, usually, but maybe she was, thrust upon him by Starfleet Command, and maybe he resents that. But he said that he'd been commanding the ship for 5 years. They did 37 missions, or 36 missions,
right?
And he's one of these guys who likes everything to be just so. He's so.
Well, you saw how his food was arranged on his plate.
Yeah,
yeah,
and that weird blue-green meat, or I don't know what the hell.
It looked like vegetables to me. It looked like broccoli, but
it looked like meat to me.
Chris Mitchell sent us some love with a heart, and thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Chris.
Appreciate it. This I thought was great. Craig's remark here: poor Picard and Riker stuck in the lower deck quarters. Also, a lot harder when you have to get up and pee.
Yes,
that was fantastic. I love that. He's like, reminds me of cadet days, but I don't remember having to pee so much.
Yeah, it's just humiliating. And it is definitely a real. He's Shaw is definitely being I don't want you here. You know, and it's interesting because I think there is a real history of captains resenting higher officers coming aboard their ship because they have to give deference.
Right.
And, it sort of upends the whole, their whole environment. Admittedly, nobody has to take Picard's orders, although they certainly lined Annika had the corridor lined with crew members.
Right.
Picard, makes his sour.
I love that line when Riker says to him about something about. I have it written down exactly.
Something like a sour, disapproving scowl.
Yeah. Your inspection.
There it is.
Yeah. You're in inspection phase. But yeah, I thought that was great. All right, let's see. Where are we? I had a side note.
Yes.
Now, I don't think we talked about this yet. I think we talked about this in the green room, but let's just take a breather and talk a tiny bit about the Neo Constitution class ship. And
before we do, yay for ship porn. I can watch ship porn all day.
I'm loving. I love the new design.
Right.
It's actually Constitution. It's the Constitution 3 class.
Right.
Because they had 2 previously.
Right.
And it is. They said it's a refit. There, if you check on Instagram, there's a Star Trek account where they have these little videos, or they're more like audios. It's it'll read out the text and somebody reads it, and they talk about the characters, and they talked a little bit about the ship. Apparently they stripped out Riker's Titan, and they kept a lot of the internal stuff, but built around it.
Well, they would have to strip it down quite a bit because it went from being oval shaped to round.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
But
I just love it, and I wonder whether. Hang on, talk amongst yourselves.
So, in answer to your question, Chris, I think your question was, what do I think? What do we think about the Neo Constitution? I'm a very solid. It's okay. It's okay.
I like it.
It's fine. I like this version better, but
Right.
it's okay.
It's
I love that version of the Titan.
I do too. I'm a big fan of the Luna class, and I would definitely watch a Riker show where he's commanded the Luna if they had to digitally de-age him a little.
Right.
But apparently the executive producer was saying how a lot of cars now are almost going a little retro in design.
Right.
And it was like maybe Starfleet might do that because it's a more retro. It's it's more of an early, like a late 23rd century design, like movie era design.
And it makes me wonder whether Paramount perhaps learned a little lesson between Discovery and Strange New Worlds and realized that the fans respond to visual cues like that remind them of previous Trek.
Yeah.
And so that had a little bit also to do with the design of the ship. I love the design of the ship. I think it's very cool.
It's very cool. I mean, like every Star Trek ship, I wish I had the Eagle Moss replica of it. That would mean I would have the money to buy all of them and the space to display them.
Right. You clearly need to go to the 25th century and sit at that bar.
Yes,
and then you probably could get one.
I can pick up the D's cheap because
I was going to say you might be able to get a discount on fat ones.
Now we also remember there was some guy listening in on Picard and Riker.
Yes,
I forgot that.
Some shadowy figure.
Yes,
and he dropped the D, which looked like the keychain version because it looked metallic and it wasn't that.
Right.
It wasn't as big as an Eagle Moss model, but he dropped it in his drink.
Right.
Which felt like he knew somebody was shooting it, as opposed to
yeah.
Like I'm not sure what that's supposed to mean. It's a cool shot. I'm not gonna nitpick, but it's just sort of like I'm sure the bartender would be like, Jesus Christ,
Greg Lupin says ship porn or shipping porn.
Little column A, little column B.
Yeah, there you go. All right. Now, the one thing we haven't touched on at all, and I'm kind of wondering whether it's because, for me personally, it didn't get me as excited or interested, but that's what's her name? Rothy's story, where she's undercover for Starfleet Intelligence. Now, a funny anecdote about that. I was sitting at the breakfast table, and my wife is sitting next to me.
Am I still here?
Yeah, you're there. Yeah, you're there.
Okay.
And
I just lost Chris.
I have it on my phone, and all she can hear is the audio. She's not watching it, and she says, "Oh my God, Rafi drinking again?" Like, wow, how did you even knew who the voice was and what was going on?
I kind of liked it. I think it is going to tie if they were talking about this.
Oh, clearly.
I forgot that it was it's not transphasic, although they have transphasic shields on the Titan A. I'm not sure what that means, but it sounds very impressive.
Yes.
Is the idea that basically it's a portal gun, like on a writ large, because they suck up that Starfleet recruiting center,
right,
or base on that planet, which looked like it was somewhere in Southeast Asia. I don't know, like there were like power lines, and very much like they digitally put that into a real city,
right.
And then it falls out of the sky, which is terrifying.
Yeah. Right. It just collapsed and then sort of came through a portal and
yeah.
Now, I'm curious though, speaking of her witnessing that, because I want to ask you guys who the statue of the Red Lady was.
Oh, I know.
We know. Garrett, the captain from the Enterprise C that went back
yesterday's Enterprise.
Oh, okay. All right. Fair enough. But my other question is, what makes it what happened there? What makes that a terror attack versus just an attack?
Well, we don't know yet. It seems like a terrorist attack because it's not.
Yeah, she refers to it as that, and I'm just thinking
because it's not. There's nobody at war. It's not like
yeah.
The Romulans. Although the Romulans are really no position these days to launch an attack on anybody.
Right.
But let's say the Gorn or the Cardassians or whoever. Like there's no. So whoever did it was doing it. And even though it's a recruitment center, it's not like attacking a ship or a base.
Right.
I think what makes it a terror attack is not the fact that if they had just attacked and destroyed, even if it was just a recruitment center, I don't think that would make it count as terrorism. But when they dropped the remains of it, they dropped it on the frickin' city.
Yeah.
Right. And now all of a sudden you got a bunch of people who are just civilians who didn't sign up to put themselves in harm's way.
Yeah.
Well, I would say even blowing up a recruitment center is it makes a strong anti-Starfleet, / Federation statement.
Sure, I'm but I think it's the actual targeting of civilians that makes it a terrorist attack.
Yes.
But
yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. That's a good way of looking at it.
I also have another theory, which I'm sure other people have had. When she's talking to her handler, through text only, or she's speaking in its text, I'm pretty sure that's Worf.
Me too.
And the real trick is when he says, "You are a warrior." That's
Yes.
The second time I watched through, I was thinking like I could hear Worf saying most of that stuff.
Yeah.
Denied.
Now, Eric, following up on what we just said, he said, but the faceless intelligent person said stealing the weapon was an act of war. So we could be seeing a war.
Sure.
Yeah.
By that.
We don't have all the intel yet to figure out what's going on, but I'm very intrigued.
Figure we throw out some ideas and see.
Yeah, no, I
fall in the right column, but really, really neat stuff. Hey, so I guess when they're all asking why did Beverly disappear for 20 years, it might have something to do with the fact that she has another son.
Yeah. Now here's the question: Is that Jean-Luc Picard Jr.? I mean, the British.
That's where my brain went, but I don't know.
I mean, the thing is, like, you don't inherit an accent from a parent who's not there.
Right.
It's not like he grew. However, as a sort of a TV indicator,
right,
it's a strong one.
Yeah.
And as Will Wheaton said on the Ready Room when he was interviewing Patrick Stewart and Gates McFadden, he says, "This is how I find out that I have a half brother." She's like, "Didn't you get the Christmas card?" Yeah. So
that's funny.
It is because at first I was like, "Oh well, is that Picard's son?" Then I was like, "Oh, Wesley has a half brother."
Right.
Wesley's sort of been, when he went with the Traveler, and then eventually, to what is the Gary 7 organization?
Right.
What they called
the supervisors.
Supervisors, yeah.
Yeah.
Which apparently are connected somehow, although they seem to have very different agendas.
I thought that was a little weak, but that's
a little weak, but
yeah.
I'm curious to see where this goes.
Yeah.
And I think the fact that the Titan is still sitting out there, I doubt they're going to abandon them, because I'm sure he would like to throw them in the brig. Oh,
don't you think that? Yeah. So, okay, let's look at that. So we're at the end of the episode, and that big ship shows up. Now,
yes.
Why does that reminds me of the Romulan ship from
the last
film?
It does have that kind of pointy bits to it.
It does have that sort of forward claw, spiky kind of vibe to it.
Yeah.
It is fairly terrifying. I would not want to see that, outside my view screen.
Yeah.
But
not to mention, it's about 4 times this or more. It's much larger than her ship.
Yeah. And I want to go back. I really love her ship. I think it is like a small exploration craft,
Right.
with it looks like it might have a crew of 10. I'm just gonna,
Yeah.
at most.
My prediction on that is, Leo, don't get too attached to that ship.
It's entirely possible
Yeah.
it will be destroyed.
I could have said that too, Keith. But yeah, I was thinking that.
But I do think it's kind of as a design, I really quite liked it.
Yeah.
It's a very compact, cool, example of a smaller, exploration craft.
Right.
Or, I'm not sure. You're being invaded by furry aliens currently.
Yeah.
Being invaded by furry aliens. That's right.
It's your Cation.
Cation.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you're doing something? I'd like some attention, please.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I decided he needed to go on my.
There we go.
So yeah,
it's like, well, my work here is done. I've just went to the show.
Well,
or not.
Yeah. Change my mind.
What was I going to say? Right. So I have a prediction. What's going to happen at the beginning of the next episode?
Please share with us.
I suspect that that there is so I just guess it. So that one Crusher ship is just going to get obliterated. And Captain Shaw is going to go, yeah, we're not coming to help. And Seven is going to go, yes, we are. No, we're not. Yes, we are. No, we're not. And then she relieves him of command, and she goes in, takes the beams everybody off the off Crusher ship at the very last minute.
Right.
And
I have a counter.
Gentlemen, I suggest you beam me aboard.
Yes, I have a counter prediction. I believe Shaw will go in to help them.
Oh, okay.
Because as much as sort of as inhospitable as he was, I don't think he's a bad officer. I don't think necessarily he's a bad captain. Although I think his bias against the Borg, 7 of 9 might disagree. He feels like she's taking a lot of shit from him.
She is.
But I don't think he's overall a bad captain. I don't think, I don't know if he'd ever become a admiral in the future.
Right.
But I don't think he is. I think he's just like a guy who likes things just so and doesn't like people coming around and fucking around with the ship, which no captain does.
Right.
So if he'd been a little more, clearly he doesn't have a hero worship for either Jean-Luc or Riker. And you got to figure there have to be some people in the fleet who'd be like, people in that fucking Enterprise, they get away with murder.
I know. Eric said Shaw may end up being as reckless as Picard and Riker. That may be true.
I still think that they've got to fight, because I think at least for a while, Riker is going to end up in command of Titan.
Maybe, I don't know. I'm hoping I like being surprised. I like the fact that he was, kind of a prick to them. I mean,
Oh, I love the character. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I mean, please don't get me wrong. I love that they've got the character is like that. I mean,
and I hope they don't kill him. I hope they can find a way.
Me too.
To get him off that bridge, but not kill him off. Because I think I would like to see Shaw. I would like to see Shaw come back.
Yeah, that to me would just be kind of cheap. But I don't think they'll do that.
I don't think they'll do that either, because that's sort of like that's kind of like a standard TV move. Like you just be like, here's the asshole. You meet him at the beginning, and then it's like he gets knocked out, and suddenly you have to our heroes have to rise to the occasion.
Right.
I think he will become more appealing. I don't know if more appealing, but I think we'll get to see more positive qualities.
Well, I'm hoping
as the series goes on.
Yeah, because he's a little bit of one note, but I'd like to hope his character develops, which would be really cool, and becomes an integral part of the show, which would be great.
I agree. I'm saying that partially because he's a friend of mine, and I would
Sure.
like to see him not be just a
Yeah.
prick on this show. He's been posting a lot of people. He was at the premiere.
You and Angela should call him up and say, "Are you going to play this as a prick the whole time?"
Well, I probably won't I won't lead in that way. They'll be coming in real hot.
Oh, you should send him some love though, because I thought he did a great job.
Yeah, no,
he did a great job.
Really great job with Shaw. I think he's an interesting character. He's I haven't quite gotten to the point where he's the guy you love to hate yet, but I think I might, and I think it's going to be really exciting.
Yeah.
Hey guys, we have 10 minutes left, and I want to run I was fascinated by what in this episode were the closing credits, but I'm sure will probably be the opening credits going forward, I think, for the show, because it didn't really have opening credits. And I was lucky enough to be able to grab a clip of that, and I think it's loaded with Easter eggs, and I just wanted to play it and then get your guys' thoughts on it.
Okay. Shall we do that, our thoughts live, or do we watch it and then?
Well, it's only 2 minutes long, so
okay.
We can always jump back if we want to
sure.
Look at something. Okay, so
we got an L-Cars display.
Yep.
First contact music.
The evil ship.
Yeah.
Right.
I think it's called the Shrike.
Okay.
I love this sloping Lars.
Yeah.
Right.
All right, what are we looking at there? What is that?
Cloaking device? Isn't that looks to me like Klingon.
Some DNA. Perhaps
holodeck programming. Holodeck programming. There's Moriarty.
Right.
Yeah.
Safety protocols offline. Did you see that?
Yes, I did. Yep. Now I don't know
Why is that.
Yeah. What do you think? Positronic brain here?
Yeah.
Yep.
I think so.
I think you're right.
From lore.
This is the Titan.
And then we get the original theme, which I thought was great.
I love the use of music in this.
Yeah.
Wait, back up. Can we back up a second so it freeze on the frame we just saw?
Wait, what do you want to do?
We just saw a ship with a bunch of graphics. Can we? I want to read the graphics. Keep going. Yeah, stop. War damage report. USS Constellation class.
Was that the Stargazer?
That's a Stargazer.
That would be the Stargazer, but this is Constance.
Well, yeah, you're right. It does say Constance, though. Interesting.
Lost in action. Do we know what stardate we're happening in right now? Because look, we got a stardate there.
Angela says my lips are sealed.
Yes.
Well.
Wait. Hold on. Angela might have just given me a clue. What if Shaw was on Constance and Constance got lost at Wolf 359? Or
Could be.
Yeah. Because you can see some of it's been blacked out.
Redacted.
It's been censored.
To the ship's destruction, I assume.
Yeah. All right, let's keep going.
Impact location. So we see a bunch of red marks there, then impact location. So it has been hit by multiple things.
Right.
This is the new Starbase.
Yep.
Fleet Museum.
That's
Geordi
is.
Geordi, yep.
There's Picard. 47 Tango.
Wait, back up. That was about Shaw.
Yeah. I saw that. Wait. Hold on.
Okay, hold on. Evaluation, Captain Liam Shaw, USS Titan, Commander, and the Commander is redacted.
Yeah.
Oh, they're teasing us. They're teasing us so hard.
Yep, there you go. Interesting. I'm glad I got this.
No, I think they do not seek blame.
I don't know what this is.
I don't know what it is, but I think it's going to be important because the only thing that doesn't seem like a readout or a record.
Right. Weapon found on site. Do not seek blame. Do not seek blame.
Something investigation. I can't quite read the blurry bits.
Yeah.
Wait, stop. We said biomed up there. I saw the word biomed. Okay, predicted function. I have no idea what that is. All right, biomed system, blank.
Yeah, 33069.
Human genome. All right, this I think is just. Oh, and yeah, theirs looks like a DNA profile.
And we saw the DNA before. That was earlier in the. And this is all DNA code. I love the old red alert.
Microholographic scan of something.
Yeah.
It looked like a brain.
Yeah.
Yeah, it did.
A lot of stuff in there.
A lot of goodies. A lot of goodies in there.
I love the use of music. They referred back to, TNG, some of the movies. There were a lot of the, as much as I love the music, like I thought the opening theme for Picard, first 2 seasons, they did variation between them, and they were beautiful. But this feels more like Star Trek, even though they were sort of operating outside the purview of Starfleet.
Right.
But it still feels more connected.
Right.
In a way that the other two didn't quite feel that way. They felt like the world had sort of moved on.
Right.
Past Jean-Luc Picard.
Right.
In the first one especially. The second one, again, they spent a lot of time in the 21st century, which was I would have liked a little more of the space stuff. Like it's funny, like Star Trek 4, which is arguably one of maybe the second best Star Trek movie of the original TOS crew.
Right.
Part of me was a little disappointed that we spent so much time in the 20th century, because I always I want to see more stuff on the ships. I want to see what it's like on a Federation planet. Like I always want to see what that world is like.
But there be whales here.
There be whales here. Yes. Computer.
Hello, computer. Yeah, my Scotty. But yeah, no, I agree with you. The other problem I had with last season was they just got bogged down in people getting arrested. They did it twice.
Yeah,
you had Rios get thrown in the clink, and then they did it to Picard later on.
Yeah,
we did that bit. Let's.
Yeah,
it's different,
My only concern, because they have again 3 villains that I can name. We have Moriarty, we have Amanda Plummer's character, and we have Lore.
Yes.
3. I think Amanda Plummer is the only one I could say with any certainty is a villain, because she's the leader of those, Skeksis aliens, which I'm going to call them until they get a name.
Yeah.
And they, I'm not sure if Lore is going to be sort of what is his deal? Is this a redemptive arc for Lore? Is he going to turn on them all?
Yeah. I'm kind of hoping it's a redemptive arc for Lore, because actually, and we don't really have time to go into this, but I'm sure we'll have reason to talk about it. When you really think about it, Lore really got the shaft.
Oh, yeah.
And he's actually a very sympathetic character, even though he was introduced sort of as the evil Data. But he's really not the evil Data. He's a guy who got
murder a fuck ton of people.
No, I understand that. But
is that exactly? But
that's hard to come back from.
Yeah,
it is hard to walk back from that. But
hey, listen, Picard walked back from being Locutus, so
I think that Lore, because Lore was was the prototype and flawed, because then soon Nuni and Sung took him, deactivate him, took him apart, and built Data, but without the emotion chips, any emotion, which meant he wasn't he didn't have that, he wasn't roiling with emotion, and it does.
But on the other hand, Sung did promise Lore he was going to fix him.
Yeah.
And he never did.
Well, Lore also stole the emotion chip, robbing it from Data. And I don't know what it's doing something.
Yeah.
So,
well, like I say, that's almost like a whole episode or half an episode to talk about lore. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. I agree with you. Did you say this in the program tonight, Keith, or did you say it in the green room before when you said you knew you liked the show because you got to the end and were like, "What? There's not more."
That's exactly what I knew, because it's like it got to the end and I'm going, "Wait, that's it? No, wait, no."
Yeah, and I hate the fact that when I'm watching it and all of a sudden I see at the bottom closed captioning provided by CBS. I'm like, "Oh, God damn it, it's coming in the end." Yeah.
The only quibble in general I have, and it's a small quibble, and I think that's, in the grand scheme of things, the way they did it is probably best. But it's like, we all know they're getting the band back together.
Yes.
Right.
We know they're coming. So let's not how many, how this is going to be 8 episodes, 10 episodes,
10 episodes.
10
episodes. Let's not spend not 8 episodes getting the entire crew back together.
Yeah, I know.
You know, and then
let's not dribble them in.
Let's not dribble them in.
Well, we'll see, because I think that, I mean, we've now got Riker, Picard, and Beverly all in the same spot.
Right.
Now, Geordi, I don't know if Geordi's coming in next week, or Worf. Like I said, I think Worf is Rafi's handler.
I think so too. Yeah.
So
hey, you know what? But Angela says, and she makes a point. She says that she's glad we can't binge the whole season or the above season.
Yeah, I there's that urge to do it, but I
know.
I'm sort of, because we all grew up at a time where the idea of binging didn't exist.
Right.
You just watched what was on, and if you missed it, you were SOL.
Yeah. Until maybe they repeated.
Yeah. VCRs changed the landscape again, but again, it's like, anyway. But the point is, I like having a week to sort of digest it and think about what happened, and go over, maybe we watch it again. As I miss it.
And read little articles.
Watch other people's. One cool thing we can do now.
What's that?
One cool thing that we can do now that we couldn't do back then when we were kids.
Yeah. Is this show?
Okay, there's that. But we just spent several minutes going almost frame by frame over the closing credits.
Yes.
And not going, what does that mean? Oh, I think I know what that means. Oh, that might mean this.
Yeah. Go back. Look at that.
Go back. Yeah.
Hey, Keith, I just noticed you and I are in the same era.
We are in the same area. If I had a badge for the the era that's currently happening, I'd be wearing that.
Well, remember, I have that sort of mystery one that I can't really figure out what it looks, and it looks a lot like.
I do. I like the new uniforms, by the way. I will say.
I do too.
I do too. But I couldn't find it because I have a feeling little hands found the box and took the pin out and just left the pips, which I do. I do have my pips on here.
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, we are 2 minutes over. As much as I could probably sit and chat with you guys for another hour, we probably should roll. But next week, I don't know what the title is for next week. Do you guys know what it is yet? It is posted.
It's posted. I don't know what it is off the top of my head.
We'll put it up because I'll post the link for next week's show and I'll put up what the next week's title is. But at any rate, so do you guys have anything else before we go?
What can I say? I'm very hopeful for this season. I mean, maybe because they're playing on my nostalgia with the music and the sounds and bringing back certain things.
Right.
But nostalgia is a big bit.
It is. This is a very nostalgic season. It feels like, because they are getting the band back together, which is kind of what we wanted for a long time.
Right.
So. I'm very optimistic. I'm not even going to say cautiously optimistic. I'm saying I'm optimistic.
Yeah, me too.
And I'm very much looking forward to it.
You are me last year when Strange New Worlds came on. We've kind of like swapped spots. I am cautiously optimistic.
Right.
I was super all in on Strange New Worlds.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know you were. Yeah.
And I remember still watching that first episode of Strange New Worlds going, Don't fuck this up. Don't fuck this up. Don't fuck this up.
It's like the last season, I had a lot of less. I did not enjoy the season as it went on. I felt like it got very bogged down in plot stuff. There were too many they wasted a lot of time on plots that didn't really end up going anywhere.
Yeah,
there was a lot of plate spinning.
Yeah,
and I'm hoping that this season will
kind of pull it together at the end.
Yeah,
but
I am cautiously optimistic. I'm looking forward to next week.
I am as well. All right, guys. Thank you everybody for tuning in.
Yes, thank you.
Oh yes, next week Craig Lubin, friend of the show and often guest, will be our guest commentator next week.
Yes, that's right. Craig Lubin will be with us next week. And Craig just gave us a thumbs up.
Thank you, Craig.
That means that Craig's giving himself a thumbs up, or?
Yeah, well, if not him, then who?
Who? That's exactly right.
If I'm not for me, who will be?
Exactly. No, we're thrilled. Craig's going to be with us next week. And I guess that's about all I've got. Really, again, agree with you. Cautiously optimistic. I loved what I saw. Got me really excited. Was disappointed when it was over because I wanted to see more. So you can't ask for better than that with the season.
No, you can't.
So, all right, folks, live long and prosper. Have a wonderful week. And we will see you next week. Same bat channel, same bat time, Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. Have a great week, everybody. Bye-bye, y'all.